The tragic event known as the Trail of Tears was the forced removal of American Indian tribes from the eastern part of the United States to what is now Oklahoma between the years of 1831 to 1839. After the discovery of gold and the need for additional land for growing cotton, white settlers were eager to move in. However, there was one major obstacle standing in the way. Yup, you guessed it, the Native Americans were living on it, and the settlers had to find a way to get them to leave. President Andrew Jackson did not at all feel sorry for the Native Americans. In 1830, Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act. Native groups thought they had negotiated a fair agreement which wouldn't force them off their land. Unfortunately, Jackson didn't care. He was heartless, selfish, and full of greed. In 1831, Jackson ignored the law requiring the government to negotiate any type of removal, and instead invaded the Choctaw Nation, which marked the beginning of the forced removal. As the years went on, the U.S. government continued with the forced removal of Native Americans. The Cherokee put up a tough fight, even when taking the U.S. to court. A few Cherokee tribal representatives negotiated the Treaty of Echota. This treaty would give the Cherokee $5 million for their land and money for having to move. And not all Cherokee people agreed to the terms. In 1838, the U.S. was no longer willing to wait. Jackson ignored the court ruling that sided with the Cherokee and forced them from their homes, put them in stockades, and eventually shipped them off west. What makes this episode in our nation's history even more disgraceful is the fact that the Cherokee chief Junaluska aided Jackson in winning the Battle of Horseshoe years earlier. Jackson's life was threatened by the Creek Indians, and it was Chief Junaluska who used his tomahawk to kill a Creek and spare Jackson's life. Chief Junaluska was hopeful that Jackson would have mercy on his people, just as Chief did for him. Not so. Not all white men approved of the forced removal. Many of the Army soldiers were doing as they were told. Army Private John Burnett was one soldier who did what he could do to lessen the painful journey. For example, he covered sick children with his coat to protect them from the cold. Burnett witnessed the cry of a betrayed Chief Junaluska, saying, "Oh my God, if I had known at the Battle of Horseshoe what I know now, American history would have been differently written." By 1840, about 125,000 Native Americans marched over 1,000 miles to the other side of the Mississippi River. Approximately 5,000 men, women, and children did not make it to Oklahoma, and they died along the journey. The long-term consequences of the Trail of Tears are evident today. Some of the Cherokee fled, while others remained in the north. Now others remained in North Carolina and fought to stay on their land because of an earlier treaty. The eastern band of Cherokees have adopted a modern government and live in Georgia, North Carolina today.